Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Courtside with Christy and Gabe right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winter-Scott, joined as always by my guy, Gabe Ibrahim. And Gabe, your Washington Mystics, our Washington Mystics, the Washington Mystics are 3-0 to start the season in spite of a lot of adverse situations.
It's
that?
been very impressive. Also, I want to say on this podcast, my team is the Miami Heat. I just want to make it very clear. That's why I'm wearing I got my pink and my blue, this kind of vice colors. The Heat are the East Coast Finals for a second year time in 3 years. Bernie's really happy. Dwayne Wade's really happy.
I see that.
Just wanted to clarify that here I'm objective about the WNBA. About the NBA, it's all about the Heat. But I mean, the Mystics have been wildly impressive. It's been awesome to watch up close. I mean, you're calling all the games, so we get to see this in live action, and it's been just wonderful. And before we get into the Mystics, though, just like make sure you're subscribed here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed on all your podcast apps. You can follow us on Twitter. Our names might pop up. I'm not entirely sure how I'm doing that, but it's okay. They just look below. The names will be there. Follow at Her Hoop Stats. Follow spread_the_floor. That's our betting platform. We have a YouTube channel too. So do all that stuff. But most importantly, what we got to do is be paying attention to the Washington Mystics because they've been unbelievable. What have you just general reaction to what's happened in these first 3 games for them?
I think it's cultural. I think that this team, they're all on the same page. They have all bought into being defensive minded. When they veer off of that focus, they can come back to it right away. And you saw that in the game against Las Vegas when they were down by 13 at halftime. And then, we were asking, hey, what was the magic sauce at halftime? What did you say? What was the flip of the switch, etc.? And it basically boiled down to, hey, we need to follow the game plan. That's what Mike Tebow said. That's what he told us. Hey, we were off of that. And against Las Vegas, they have, 2 left-handed starters, 2 right-handed starters, and one that can use both pretty well. So they were trying to force those players to use their non-dominant hand. And they didn't see that in the first half. In the second half, they saw more of that. They kept Hamby off the glass a little bit better, no second chance opportunities. And they turned Vegas over. I believe it was 16 turnovers turned into 19 points. And that was the biggest difference of the game. And, you're really seeing the maturation of Rui Machida, but also Katie Benzan, as we are saying now, Benzanity. So a little Vince Carter, a little, the New York, what's his name? What's the man's name?
Oh, Linsanity.
Linsanity.
Jeremy Lin.
That's the one.
Shouts to Jeremy Lin.
There you go. Yeah. Shout out Jeremy. But it was, that's Alicia Clark coined that for Katie Benzan, who Mike Tebow said, hey, if we had space on the roster, she would definitely have a permanent spot. So that is high praise for coming in late to training camp and then sticking. And not only sticking, but having 12 points in a game against Las Vegas, and just really playing with some high level confidence. So it was really fun to see. But I think at the end of the day, the Mystics, the defensive pride on that side of the court, I think has been the biggest difference in this 3-game win streak to start the season.
Yeah. And so we got to talk about Katie Benzan, obviously. Katie is a favorite of them courtside for the entire time we've been doing this podcast. Episode 75, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Oh, cheers to that.
We'll have to do something for episode 100 whenever that's going to be.
Definitely.
It'll be probably towards the end of the season, but we'll do something.
Yeah.
But with Katie, I mean, I think she's a symptom of what you're talking about, that culture of this team, the idea that everyone's going to step up and just do their job. And I think, like you mentioned, Katie did come in late camp, and I asked Mike Tebow, did you see this happening? She scored 12 points against the Las Vegas Aces, which was more than Asia Wilson and Chelsea Gray combined. A lot of noise right there, that statistic, but
that's a lot of noise.
But it's that's a really cool thing that she's going to be able to say forever. But I think, one of the other quotes that I got about Katie that I think shows that cultural aspect of the Mystics was Elena Delle Donne said that one day she came into training camp on the first day that Katie was signed, and Elena has to get there super early to get her body ready. There's a lot of training stuff. So she's there pretty much the first person in the building, last person to leave. That's not just Elena. That's like both for her rehab and just the type of leader that she is, right?
Right.
And she said that when she got there was someone bouncing the ball and shooting in the gym. And she was like, what's happening? And then she kept going and kept going and kept going. Finally, she went out there and she looked, and it was Katie Benzan. And she was concerned that Katie Benzan was going to shoot her arm off before her first WNBA practice. Yeah. And it's just like that type of person is exactly the type of person that the Mystics want. And it's the type of people that they have this year. That's sort of, every team works really hard. I don't want to diminish what everyone else does. I just think that sort of culture of getting yourself better every single day, putting in that work, putting in those extra hours, putting in those times where you feel like you're going to shoot your arm off, right? That's what this Mystics team is all about. And it comes from Katie Benzan, it comes from Elena Delle Donne, it comes from Natasha Cloud, and it comes from Alicia Clark. So yeah, I mean, 3-0 to start the season with Natasha Cloud missing a game, Elena Delle Donne missing a game. Alicia Clark has yet to play, although she's going to play tonight against the Dallas Wings, which is so exciting. It's just so exciting. Yeah. Elizabeth Williams is still in Europe playing, so this team is going to get better in talent wise. And maybe that means Katie's not around, but I think Katie's going to stick around in like you're saying, like she's going to be around for this team for a while, I think. And I think she's just a symptom of everything we've talked about. And to get into more of like the basketball stuff, defensively, the thing I've seen the most is Elena Delle Donne is bouncy, right? Like, am I just like wishful thinking here? But she looks bouncier. She looks more explosive on defense. Her rim protection was huge. She won the post battle with A'ja Wilson, which is not crazy for the best player in the world. Just her defense was so impressive. Did you see that too?
Absolutely. And it was the timing and the positioning defensively down in the paint that really was disruptive to A'ja Wilson. I mean, you had two MVP caliber players. Elena has two of them. Wilson got one down the bubble MVPs in the league. So, I mean, you have some really staunch competitors when you're talking about those two. But I thought, obviously, with Washington winning, that Delle Donne had the edge in that matchup. But I know, A'ja Wilson blocked Elena Delle Donne. If you're watching this and you're a Vegas fan, it's like, well, she blocked Delle Donne's shots. She did. And she's supposed to do that. Like, that's who she is. But at the end of the day, I think Delle Donne stayed in her rhythm offensively a little bit better than A'ja did. So then you have to tip your cap to Elena Delle Donne for disrupting Wilson the way that she did, forcing tough shots to be taken by her, keeping her off the glass, but also having a couple blocks herself. And I think Mike Thibault said this, and I don't know if it was this year or last year, but I remember he said, we're missing Elena Delle Donne in a lot of different ways, but she's a good shot blocker. Yes. Like, people don't talk about that enough. She has great timing, great anticipation. She stays vertical, and she had some really timely blocks that were necessary to make that push for Washington to get that win. So it was pretty impressive, obviously.
Yeah, and she was also sturdy, which is great to see because the back injury kind of, I think, took a little bit away from that last year when we did get to watch her play in those 3 games. She just wasn't as sturdy, not as strong to stay in the post. And now it's like, she is stronger. She is just in better shape. And she actually said that. She was like, sometimes I jump and I'm like, man, I'm higher than I used to be because she's worked on her body so much. And I think it just goes to show like how hard of a worker she is, because a lot of people can get discouraged when you basically can't play the game you love for 2 straight years. And she didn't, and she's come back and she's felt good. So hopefully that sticks throughout the year. And it's really, really exciting. The other thing on the defensive aspect is, tell me if this is true for you. Okay. I'm like really pleasantly surprised with Rui Machida's defense.
Oh man. First of all, would you want to dribble the ball near Rui Machida?
No.
Would you want to put the ball, even if you were backing her down, would you want, you think, well, I have some size on her, so I'm going to turn my back on her. She's going to take that ball from you faster than you can think about if she's going to do it or not. I mean, come on, man. She is so tough-minded. And the thing about it, with Natasha Cloud being out for health and safety protocols in that game against Vegas, she was thrust into that starting lineup, and she was more than ready for that. She had 9 points in the game, but in the game previous to that at Minnesota, she had 4 rebounds, and she's a tiny little thing, and she had 3 assists. So she was making plays and getting stops in that Minnesota game, but in that Vegas game, she knew she had to be relied upon to do more than just distribute and rebound and get stops, whatever. She had to score. So she had those 9 points, and I thought they were very important to the vitality of the win they had. But that pass that she had, oh my gosh, the one overhead.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Bounce pass. I mean, the entire ESA was in that moment, and it was so Showtime of her to do that. And when I say Showtime, I'm not saying it was arrogant or anything other than just spectacular. I mean, just the skill and the precision of that play. I mean, I thought she was outstanding and much needed. I mean, they needed her to do exactly what she did, which is make plays and score on her own.
Yeah, it was a Magic Johnson pass, a mini Magic Johnson pass.
It really was, man.
And there is some Showtime moments in that game for the Mystics. I mean, I think not only in transition, there was just like, I mean, Ariel Atkins, I forget when it was. I think it was in the first half, but remember that pass that she stopped with the ball like near the elbow and just like whipped one right to Maisha Hines-Allen, who was down the low block, and like threw hands, and just like that. There's a level of confidence now on the offensive side with those passes and the chemistry. And you could see, like, you know, a lot of teams talk about when they come into the season, like, oh, this is the best chemistry we've ever had. Oh, this is like, this offense is moving a lot more than we thought it would be. But it's showing up for the Mystics in a big way. Like, it really looks crisp and clean. I think Rui's a huge part of that. Obviously, when Natasha's playing, she has been a huge part of that. I think I wrote about Natasha. Mark Schindler wrote about Natasha. A bunch of other people wrote about Natasha shooting. But just like the way that they've been able to get into the offense with both Natasha and Rui has been super impressive. And I think one of the things that Rui does that I really, really love is she gets the ball going early. I think I've said this like a ton of times on this podcast. Like, I want the offense going at 20 seconds on the shot clock. Our offense should be in well into our first set. And that's what she does. She gets the ball up court. So it's like, okay, we're into the action. We're not setting up our horns set at 20 seconds. We're in the horn set at 20 seconds. Now we have 20 seconds to work with.
Right.
So I think that's been huge. Her defense has been pesky. She's, you know, like such a little thing. And I think when you have those little guards, they know what they're doing. They're out there for a reason. There's Chris Paul has played in the NBA for those many years because he knows all the little tricks. There's a ton of little guards across basketball, and they know all the little tricks to get steals and all that. So I think Rui's just a huge part of what this team's doing. Trying to think of who else we need to talk about, because you know, Shakira she's up and down, but I think she's been pretty good. What have you seen from the rookie so far?
I think she's really getting more and more comfortable every practice, every game. We were at the practice yesterday, and she just she knows the challenge that's in front of her, and she's not afraid of it, right? She knows that they're going to be up and downs, you know, everybody, not just rookies, but in particular rookies, right? So I think she has embraced that. She's not looking for perfection, and I don't think anyone else is either with her. But what you do see from her is the will to get better and kind of go through that adversity as a rookie and not cower away from it, not like get frustrated by it, like, oh man, this is fast, or oh man, I thought I had that play, or thought I had that block or that rebound or whatever. You know, she's going to go for it. And I appreciate that, you know, from her, and just that will to compete. And not just on the court against opponents, but compete for minutes, right? She's competing for minutes in practice. She's going hard. I mean, there are no plays off with her offensively or defensively. So I'm just really pleasantly surprised. And it's really hard, especially as a post player, I think, who was used to getting the ball a lot. And I think Mike Thibault said this as well. Like, you know, the ball went through her. I think she had 30% usage at Ole Miss. So she was getting a lot of touches. The offenses were running through her. And now with the Mystics, she's a screen setter, and your touch may be offensive glass, you know, go get the rebound. But they went to her a couple of times directly, but I just think, you know, it's not the same kind of vibe. Like, you may be the third or fourth option. Right. And defensively, you got to have more than just 2 or 3 pick and roll coverages. You might have to have 5 or 6. So that's a huge adjustment on both sides, but you have to think faster. It's not, when people say, oh, the game is quicker. sometimes you just think like quicker, as in like how fast can you sprint from baseline to baseline? I'm like, that's not really what that means. It means you've got to be thinking quickly on the floor, and it's got to be precise. Like you can think about it and you've got to execute it. Like you know what to do, but you've got a split second to get it done. And that's what the speed of the game is. When people say, oh, the speed is different on the professional level, it's the thought process that's the difference.
No, I agree with everything you said. I think the one thing, a couple things for her that are big is like she's, like you said, not getting discouraged by not getting as many touches, not getting discouraged when she gets beat on defensively. I think she's just a player who kind of just keeps it moving. Like I'm not, whatever, last play, we're going to deal with that when I watch the tape, and I'll get better from that later.
Right.
But she's not going to sit there and say, oh, poor me, I got beat on this, I ran the wrong coverage, or I didn't get the ball on this possession, or whatever. Like she's just going to keep it moving, which I think is huge for a rookie. I think she has a great mentality for a rookie. Also, she likes to mix it up. She's a talker. She's going to stand up for her teammates. Like at the end of that Aces game, Dearica Hamby kind of gave Katie Benzan a little extra on a foul. And then Shakira was right there, in her face, like try to protect her teammate. After the game, I asked her like, "Hey, what was that thing with Hamby?" She's like, "Hey, it ain't no beef. She threw down my teammate. I had to go protect my teammate." And I was like, "That's awesome. That's exactly what you want. You want to have that fire. You want to have that edge." I think she has that. She has the right mentality. And then I think the game's going to come to her. I think she's going to be, I think by the end of the season, we're gonna see a different player. So I mean, I'm really impressed with the Mystics overall. Obviously, we didn't mention Mighty Shines Allen. She's been great.
A dog.
Tiana Hawkins, also huge for this team. Like hasn't played that many minutes yet, but she's getting going, and she's just been huge in terms of like connecting the offense, hitting shots, doing all those little things. And obviously, I mentioned Ariel Atkins, but I think she's gonna take. I'm still the one thing I'll say, and let me know if you agree with this. For Ariel Atkins is she talked a lot about in the offseason getting to the rim more. She hasn't quite done that. I want to see her just kind of push her head down. Like I almost rather her like get a charge, like run over somebody. Just do it. Like not to like injure anybody, but just like
just
to get to the rim. And she did in the Aces game. She had a couple possessions where it was like, okay, her eyes were downhill and her intention was downhill. And then that forced the defense to move around, and she was able to get those passes I was talking about. And it was just like, that's what I want. Like, that's what I want to see more is like, maybe you're not getting shots at the rim, but your intention is to go to the rim. And then your defense has to adjust to that rather than those pull out shots where she's kind of shooting off balance, and she's great at them, but getting downhill would be huge. Do you think am I right there, or am I off base?
Yeah, no, I think, the spacing that the Mystics have in their offense, I think that really does afford opportunities to do that, but it's all predicated upon how the defense is playing and, that next level. I think obviously she can get by probably her first defender, like her primary defender, but it's that next line. But like you said, she's a great crafty passer as well. So when that second line does commit, she's able to still make plays. So I think, we're going to probably see more of that come from her and her attack of the paint, and to get in there, not just for scoring capabilities for herself, but scoring capabilities for the team as well.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to mention on this, we're mainly talking about the Mystics Aces game, the Mystics Minnesota game. We'll talk about the Lynx in just a second. We're going to put that off to the side. And then their opening win, who'd they play? Oh, Indiana, which is another team that we may have to talk about on this podcast. No, but in the Aces game, like I just wanted to mention that the Aces did have to travel like 12 hours or something. There was some sort of like crazy travel, which always happens when there's a Mystics Aces game. Something's gonna go wrong when the Mystics play the Aces. So maybe we shouldn't take that much from it. For either team, just like the travel does affect your stamina. I think it affected the Aces a lot in that second half. I think to a certain extent. Yeah, I think you can view it as an excuse for the Aces, or not an excuse, just like a reason why something's happened. But I also think like what we saw from the Mystics was real, and then what we saw from the Aces may not be as real, if that makes sense.
Sorry about that.
That's fair.
I think that's fair. I mean, when you're breaking it down, I mean, you don't want to say excuses. So I appreciate you saying but it is, reality, and it is part of what happened with them. But also at halftime, the Mystics kind of shored up their defense and, really got more focused on the game plan. And so it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So it's not just one or the other thing, but I think it's a little bit of both things.
I agree. All right. I got nothing else on the Mystics at the moment. I mean, we're obviously going to talk about the Mystics all the time because that's a team we could both cover here in the DMV.
Right.
Anything else we want to mention about the Mystics?
Yeah, just with that Shakira and Kate Benzan situation. Mike Tebow said something really funny, and we'll probably share it on air tonight too, because it was great. But he said after the game, he came in and he said, hey, Shakira, Katie told me that she was fine taking care of herself. You didn't need to do that. And I was like, and Katie was like, wait a minute, I didn't say that. Like, wait. So that's the kind of vibe, they have a really good connection. And, they're just fun people to be around. And Mike Tebow said that verbatim, like they're just fun people. And when you can joke like that and say things and get a laugh, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, no, I told Katie after the game, like, oh, you outscored Asia Wilson. And Alicia Clark goes, yeah, like from behind me, and just started yelling. I was like, yes, the vibes on this team are there. I don't want to compare this team too much to that 2019 team, but it is kind of that vibe. They feel very together, very, very close. So we also should mention, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because I feel like we've done this for a while. Like the Mystics look good, and we're like, oh, when this player comes back and this player comes back and it's going to be healthy and they're going to win championships. Like, this is good. This is great.
Yeah.
Let's keep it in front of us. This is 3 games to start the season. Elena looks great. I think she's going to be healthy. It looks good. It looks good. I just don't want to jinx it. I don't want to get like too excited, because I know we're prone to do that with the Mystics.
Oh, and Kennedy Burke also is a player who the Mystics are waiting on, and Elizabeth Williams, and now Natasha Cloud. Mm-hmm. So I think they said that with Clark coming back today, they were going to let go of Stephanie Jones.
Oh, okay.
So because she was the last one that they signed, so she would have to be the first one to go.
I see.
But I don't know if that's official yet. Did that happen already?
Yes, that just happened. Looking across the timeline here, it says Washington released Stephanie Jones. Also, just to save Curtis the having to say this all the time on Twitter, if you're watching this on whatever, when a hardship contract gets released, because the person does not have to go through waivers. If you're on a different type of contract, rest of the season, standard, whatever, you have to be waived because you have to go through waivers, which is a 48-hour process where a team can claim your contract. So that's the difference in verbiage. And he's just brought that up a ton of times. Him and Richard Cohen always bring up the little minutia like that. So
you're a lawyer, you know that too, though.
I just don't. I don't really care. This is basketball.
That's just the way it goes.
I have a bigger problem when there's like someone like misdiagnosing a play, which I do all the time. Like I'm like, oh, this is a twist. No, it's not. Or this is a twirl. No, it's not. Gabe, you're wrong. So that's kind of verbiage that makes me mad. But regardless, we digress into talking about real basketball. You want to get on to the Lynx?
Yeah, because there's a lot to unpack with them, man. And wow, right?
Yeah.
You can start, actually, because I'm still marinating on the whole situation.
Okay, let's tell people what happened first off.
Yeah, tell people what happened, and then we'll chime in.
Okay, so the Minnesota Lynx in Sylvia Fowles' last year, they started off tough. I forget what their last game was. It was not good. They lost to.
They're 0-3, right?
They are 0-3. Yeah. They lost to the Fever. Shouts to the Fever. 1/6 of the way to Christy's prediction that they would have 6 wins by the All-Star break. And the Fever, they're pretty good.
They're tough.
They're a little bit more ready than I thought they'd be.
Boom. Now.
Okay, we'll debate that. We'll debate it. We'll debate it. But back to the league. So they lose that game to the Fever. They're 0-3. It's been tough, obviously. But they responded by buying out Angel McCoughtry's contract and waiving Odyssey Sims, who they picked up right before the season. Angel McCoughtry was a big free agent signing in the offseason. And then they signed Avina Westbrook. It was originally reported that was a hardship contract. It's not a hardship contract. It's actually a rest of the season deal. Right. So Vena's going to be there. And then they also brought in Mariah Jefferson on what I'm assuming is also a rest of the year deal. If there's corrections for that, we will have them on herhoopstats.com. So just go to like the cap situation for each of the teams, because we don't actually know what that buyout was for McCautry. So I don't necessarily know how this all is going to affect their cap space, but it certainly affects their team in a big way.
Yeah.
Because, Angel was supposed to be a big part of this. And I think one of the things that's happened is Natalie Achonwa got hurt.
Yes.
And she's out indefinitely. Don't really, it might be a month, it might be longer, it might be shorter. I think it's a soft muscle injury, which is the worst. So, hoping for the best for Achonwa. I think maybe they just needed space is like my explanation here is like, Angel costs too much for us to bring in other people. And she, Angel doesn't quite look as the player that she used to be. She may have something lined up. Maybe she go. This is not sourced or anything. Maybe she goes back to Atlanta or something. Could happen. So Angel didn't look quite like the player that she used to be, and I think for Minnesota just turned out to be a situation where they needed that cap space. So that's like my generous explanation here. The other explanation here is I don't know what the heck Minnesota is doing, because they released Crystal Dangerfield before the season. They released Ryan Davis. And they had to do some of these moves because that's just the way the cookie crumbled.
Right.
These were not the way the cookie crumbled situations. I'm not sure if it's an overreaction. So I mean, like that could be like this reaction to how the team looked in the first 3 games. Maybe. Maybe this was just a reaction to the injuries. I don't know. Very difficult for me to make sense of this. All I know is that it is not good right now in Minnesota.
No, my first thought definitely was for Sylvia Fowles. Like this is her final year, and so I just feel like it's going to be tougher, obviously, for her to do what she wants to do in her final WNBA professional season. But at the same time, it is a business, and I think what you said makes sense, just with Angel's contract. But at the same time, in reading Angel's statement, it was almost like she concurred with what you were saying about her not looking the same. But for me, I'm like, man, break a sweat. You know what I mean? Like break a sweat, get some minutes under your belt, get back in rhythm. In 3 games is less than an appetizer size opportunity, but I understand financially that is what it is. So there are some things we're not privy to understanding in terms of the business side of things. So we're not like saying right, wrong, or otherwise, but just observing what it looks like. And then hearing Angel say, I need to get my body better in condition. I need to, take that time, and I still have more to give to the game. So hearing her perspective, I thought really rounded it out for me that maybe she wasn't quite at peak performance level, and her contract was, and they had to do some modifications because of that. So as tough as that is to do, which I mean, that's incredibly tough. And then to have, 3 players sitting right there as assistant coaches, right? With Rebecca Brunson, Katie Smith, and Planette Pearson. Like they understand too, the business of it. And they understand, the tough side of the business too. And it was just hard to read that. It was pretty shocking. Didn't see it coming at all. And my first knee-jerk reaction with Angel was like, she didn't get a chance. She didn't get a chance to like get right, but again, it's early enough in the season where hopefully she can land somewhere and give the game all she has. That's what she said. She's like, I want to give this game all I have. I want to, I still have more to give. So with that approach, I'm sure someone will take a chance on her, because there's so much movement right now that I think this has been the most movement at this juncture. It just feels like it. Or maybe it's just the names of the movement. There are a lot of big name players that have been shuffled and moved.
No, I agree with you. I think this has been more movement. I mean, it's tough because there's a lot, like every year there's a lot of people coming in and out from Europe, obviously, but I'm with you. I think this is just it feels a little bit more important. There's more important players, I think, moving around.
Big names. Yeah.
Big names.
Big names.
But, you know, and it's important to note, though, like with Angel, like this is not just a situation where they just cut her, right?
Right.
She had to agree to the buyout.
She did.
So there is a certain aspect of, you know, she did at least sign off with the idea of her not being on the Minnesota Lynx anymore.
Right.
I don't know what that means. I don't know. I'm with you, though. I'm just kind of sad. I don't think this is it. I don't think this is it for Angel. I think she's going to be somewhere. It's just the knee injuries have been so tough. I mean, she looked really good in the bubble with Vegas. She looked really like not like the Angel of old, but certainly a player that can help. And then just like not being able to play last year, coming in this year, not quite being ready. I don't know. It's tough. And it is tough to get ready in this league too. Cause like it's boom, boom, boom. And then, you know, your off-season opportunities are a little bit more prescribed. And it's just like, it is tough. And we saw how tough it was for Elena Delle Donne to get back, obviously different injuries, but you know, it's really, really tough to get back into shape in this league and be ready to play. And because it's such a short season, you don't really have that situation that you can have in the NBA where it's like, okay, you know, this guy's going to play himself into shape after not playing. And then you have a really, exactly. Right. That's what's tough about it. It's like, that's what I hate about it. It's like, you're coming in and immediately it has to be competitive because there's only 34 games. So it's like, you can't have like a 10-game stretch where you're not ready to play. So from that aspect, I do understand where the Lynx went with it. I feel bad. It just hurts as a fan.
As a fan, it's hard. And just to see her, you know, trying to mount that comeback, and you know, you look at all the videos that she had over the fall and like how she was getting physically ready for the season. And then to be picked up, you know, by Minnesota, it was like, yeah, Angel, you know, like, look at you, like, you persevered, you know, you're back out there, been resilient with it. And then, you know, and this happens, and it's no slight. I mean, Cheryl Reeve is an excellent coach and GM. Like, she understands the business probably better than anybody. And so it's not a slight to her. And I know that was a tough decision for her. I'm sure it wasn't like a cut dry situation. I'm sure she was like wrenching her brain, trying to find another way other than that to make it work. And it just wasn't feasible. So I'm sure. And again, I would never want to, you know, make that kind of choice. And I know, you know, I would do it if I had to do it, but I know that is just, you know, that's hard to do. That's very difficult, you know, knowing what she's come through to get to this point, you know. So
well, you kind of have to be, unfortunately, cold and calculating. I mean, you know, you gotta, it's about wins. I think the Lynx, you know, I've defended the job that because I saw some people saying like Cheryl Reeve hasn't done that great of a job in the last few years. I'm like, guys, she's competing and she just lost she lost the best player in the league, in Maya Moore. She lost the two other players who made up the best dynasty we've seen in this league since the Houston Comets, right? Like that team with Waylon and Augustus, like that team was awesome. And then all those players are not there anymore. And then suddenly this team is kind of thrust into a situation where it's like, oh, it's the twilight of Sylvia Fowles' career. Oh, we have now the piece of Collier. We got this great player that we just picked up in the middle of the draft. And like I think people were like, oh, they should tank or like, you know, rebuild. It's like, you're not going to rebuild when you have one of the best centers in the league. Sylvia Fowles won the Defensive Player of the Year last year. Right. And this team was like, I mean, I think they've been pretty close to competing and getting to a championship level at times. And it's just like, so I think she has done a good job. I think it's just tough when you're in the situation of like, okay, we're moving on from our franchise, what it was, to what it will be. But we're still in this middle part here where it's like, we don't quite know. So maybe this is the start of building towards this end, the future end, rather than trying to maintain what the franchise was. So I don't know. I know that was like scrambled thoughts, but
no, that was perfectly stated. And I think, you know, with Napheesa Collier, you know, being maxed, you know, recently being maxed, I think that just tells the whole story with what they are looking to do. And weren't they a 3 seed last year in the playoffs?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
3 seed. I don't have it in front of me or anything, but I'm vaguely remembering that they were a 3 seed in the playoffs. So I mean, they're doing the best they can. And Napheesa Collier is out having a baby any minute now, and she'll make her way back to the floor as a new mom and fiercely so. So I just, you just have to trust the decisions that are being made by GMs and coaches, because they know the game inside out. They're the experts. That's why they're doing what they do. And they're trying to make it work out. Like you said, big picture wise, not just for this minute. They're looking forward and they're trying to build that way, and not rebuild, but build, right? They want to build. So I think that's what's happening in Minnesota.
Yeah, I do question I question GMs all the time, though. That's kind of like a big part of my job. So I try, but with Cheryl, I give a lot of leeway to, because I've been impressed. Like you said, they were a 3 seed last year's playoffs. The year before that, they got to the semifinals as a 4 seed. And it's like, the year before that was the last year that they had that what you would consider their franchise before that point. And they were out in the first round. So it's like we're very shortly removed from that team being what it was, and we still haven't gotten to what that team will be around Napheesa Collier. So we'll see. I've mentioned that they brought in Mariah Jefferson and Vina Westbrook, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I like those. That like Jefferson, the Jefferson sign I think is gonna be big, because Mariah Jefferson can play when she's healthy. She's a really good player. Dallas is just going in a different direction. And I think that's what, I don't think that was like a talent issue. It was more like they're just going younger. They're already in that future aspect. And I think I have Westbrook as a first rounder at times in my mock draft, and I'm a fan. I think she fits in perfectly with the Lynx too. So I think those are 2 big signings, really.
Yeah, I like those 2 in terms of fit and what they're capable of doing, and what Cheryl Reeve is expecting of them. So I think that's going to be fun to watch as the season progresses. But hard decisions had to be made, and she made them. So I give her credit for the courage to do that, and not just say, well, if we do this, this could happen, and not do anything. Right? She's like, if we do this, this could happen, and we're going to do it. So, you got to be tough-minded, and you got to make the hard choices in business. And that's what she did. So anxiously waiting to see what it looks like as maybe at the All-Star break. That's my mark. Like, what do they look like now? Like, okay, we did this, we made these moves, and now mid-season, what is that panned out to be? And
they're also missing, arguably their second best player this year, Kayla McBride. I don't know, actually, it may not be arguable. She is the second best player on this team.
Yeah.
So when she comes back, it's a different look too. And they've really missed her shot making, her ability to run the offense too. So I think the Lynx, they'll be all right. They'll be back. They'll be back. And then maybe not in like the top 4, but I think they're going to be in the playoffs is what I'd say.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what?
For sure.
I'm going to make it a sticky note. A sticky note.
Hey, where's mine last time? Is it?
I got it here. I can't put him on the wall. Put him on the wall. But I will put Lynx. What's today? What's today's date? The
May 13th.
May 13th. Gabe. Lynx and playoffs.
We need.
I will figure out a way to display this. Also, just like while we're here and I'm writing, if there's any artists out there like watching this, like the walls in my office are bare. I have no art. I made the bookshelf look really nice.
You did.
I have no art, so if like I want to like pay people to create basketball art for me. So if there's people out there that would want to do that, let me know.
Hey, I know Delle Donne has that
the crafts.
She has like that carpentry, and I know there's like that. It's really graphic looking, and it's like a hoop. I don't know how much it costs though, but check it out.
That might be out of my price range.
I know, but you never know.
Young and up and coming artist Elena Delle Donne. Okay, I have a trio of things that I want to mention here. Okay. I want to talk about the Atlanta Dream. I want to talk about the Indiana Fever. I want to talk about the Chicago Sky.
Yes.
So choose your own adventure. Where are we going here?
I want to go with the Chicago Sky first.
Okay.
From those trio of teams. And boy, did they splinter the New York Liberty by plus 30 points. I mean, it looks so good. And why does Emma Miesemann look so strong and great. I mean, she's always great, but she looked so strong in that game, man. And Candace Parker was feeding her at will in that game, and she was just going to work. I was like, oh man, look at Emma, like in her prime right now. She looked great.
No, and is it just me or does she still look weird? Like Jen and I always mention this, like every time we see Emma in the Chicago, it still looks weird, right?
It's weird to start. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that happens with any player who like shifts and moves, especially playoff Emma, the MVP of the 2019 finals. Yeah, you kind of just always picture her in a Mystics jersey, but she looks really good in Chicago, and they have great balance. They have the youth movement, but they also have some really strong vets. Candace Parker said this may be her last year. You know, we're talking about Sylvia Fowles, but Candace Parker, I mean, she is such a great leader and just a phenomenal coach on the floor. You know, like you just see her going to the bench for timeouts, and she is engaging with her other 4 teammates that she has out on the court with her. And it's really fun to watch. It's really, really fun to watch someone come into themselves that way and be a mature leader and have the eyeballs of all their 4 teammates. And no one's looking like, oh, here goes Candace again. They're all like, yep, I got you. Boom, 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 boom. And they're like right there with her. They're right there with her. And I'd love to see that.
I think they may have one of the best passing front courts ever in basketball. Like the 3, like Candace Parker, Emma Meesman, Azrae Stevens, those 3, the cutting, the passing, just like the shot making too. The defense has been great too. Like the defense has been really, really good, but just the passing, and like, it's just like a lot of times I'm watching this game, I'm like, the passing is just wonderful. It's like, they just understand everything about what they're trying to do. And it's really interesting to see how like easily Emma's fit into the chemistry of this team. Like there hasn't been any situations where I'm like, oh, it's Emma getting used to it. Like she seems used to it. She seems into it. And especially with Courtney Vandersloot, like one of the best passing teams I think we've seen in basketball, just like brilliant passing. And like, how about Dana Evans? How about her?
Exactly. That's exactly who I was talking about, where Candace was saying, like, if you go there, that's going to be there. She's like, I got you. And she was right with Candace. That's what the total example I was picturing when I was talking about them walking to the timeout huddle. And wow, she has just been fantastic for this team. And talk about a player who's matured competitively. That's Dana Evans. Like she's been like just awesome.
It's the shot making's there, but it's also what you're saying. Like turns out hanging out with Candace Parker makes you a better basketball player. Turns out. And Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley and James Wade and that whole organization. Like,
listen.
And you know, another thing here too is like, I always like to keep track of this early in the season, is like the team that wins the championship. The Mystics obviously did not get a chance to like build on their championship. But the Sky have, and when you win a championship and you come back next season, there's just a different confidence. There's a different swagger, like there's a different like feel. Like we know what we're doing. We are the champions. Like we have a very good understanding of who we are. And I think this team is just like everyone's contributing. I mean, Rebecca Gardner, her first WNBA game, 14 points and 6 of 9 shooting, 4 rebounds, an assist and 2 steals. It's like she just came in and did that.
Right.
Like,
no, I love her game, and she has no fear either. And she is so quick at getting to the rim and getting by people, and just very smart too. I mean, like you said, I mean, James Wade has it all right there. He has so many great leaders on the floor who can, you know, push his game plan forward and execute it to perfection. And, you know, when you have those leaders on the court, it makes it easy for Gardner to come in there and just be calm in those moments, because she knows what she's doing and she knows why she's doing certain things. So I think that was really showing and proving in their first couple of games here.
And you want to know something? We haven't mentioned Allie Quigley because she has not played. So she's going to be back tonight. And just finals MVP Kalia Copper is also coming back from Spain. I think they're done in Spain is what she won MVP.
So, or it's close. Yeah.
Yeah, she won MVP over there too, because that's just what she does. It's just what she does now. She's just gonna win all the MVPs that are available. So yeah, Chicago, the champs, I think are looking pretty good. I think we both had them on top of our power rankings or close to the top of our power rankings.
Close to the top. I think we have Vegas, and then it was Chicago, which is very interesting because, I mean, this is before we saw anybody play any games, but just on paper. So we were looking at. But Vegas, I mean, they're a tough team. And, you know, Becky Hammond really has them playing in a different space and pace and all that, and pushing the threes and getting the ball inside. I mean, I still have fresh stats in my head, but just, you know, I think it was 28% of their offense comes from threes this year, where before it was always get the ball inside to the two post players, you know. Makes
me so happy. I see Aces shooting threes and Asia Wilson shooting threes. And they're flying. They are going. They're it's off makes too. Like Kelsey Plum looks like she's been shot out of a rocket. Like she plays angry in the best of times. I don't know what happened this year, but she is upset at someone or something, or just has something in her head that is pushing her to go as fast as I've seen her. But you know, hey, well, Aces, we're gonna talk about you, and we'll wait till you do something good so we can say some nice things.
Right.
All right, Fever Dream. Where do you want to go?
Let's go with the Dream, because we haven't really talked about them. We talked with Fever a little bit about how they're, you know, on pace for my wins total by All-Star break. So let's go with the Dream. I mean, you know, we haven't really talked about them at all. I know they beat Dallas on opening weekend, and that was a low scoring game. I believe it was 66-59 or 58. Yeah. So not a lot of points on the board, but they did what they needed to do defensively. And I think that's what this Atlanta Dream team is going to be known for. They're going to be known for being tough on defense right now.
Yeah. So they beat the Wings in Dallas 66-59. And then they beat the Sparks 77-75. Man, Ryan Howard, the truth. I mean, we said a lot of great things about Shakira Austin. Honestly, you know, you look at the Mystics roster and you can understand why they made that trade. I think they needed, and they are a championship looking team, right? They needed someone in the front court a little bit more than they needed a wing. Right. That being said, Ryan Howard looks just incredible. I said it before the season too. I said it in all my drafts, in all my draft analysis. She is ready to come in and be a competent WNBA wing. Well, she's come in and been like a really, really, really good WNBA wing. She's blocking shots, she's hitting threes, she's doing everything. And it's like, I don't think this is just like an example of a rookie coming in and no one knows much about her. I think this is just the player that she is.
Yeah, no, she is incredibly tough-minded, and her mentality on draft night should have told you everything you needed to know. If you ever heard her speak or say anything before, you knew that she was ready for this moment, and you knew that she had worked hard for this moment. And here she is, and she is just showing the best of herself so far for the Atlanta Dream, and they want that from her, and she's just been able to bring it and be consistent early on. I know it's early and to be consistent, but you know, she's been consistent and she's been efficient, and you have to look at that moving forward for a rookie, right, to come in and not miss a beat. I mean, it's been a seamless transition to the league for her.
Yeah, and the team is just ready. Like I said it before the season, they still are missing Tiffany Hayes, by the way, who is the team's best player. Although we'll see, maybe Ryan Howard's already their best player. I don't know. Tip is really, really good, folks. And so like this team, I'd said before the season, I was like, you know, this team's pretty good. Like they got real players who understand what to do. They can play defense. They're going to come in and, you know, they have a new coach. Yeah. So Tanisha Wright has to get them used to what she wants to do, but they look crisp. Yeah. They look crisp. Yeah. They look ready. We'll see kind of what they do, you know, heading forward, but I'm just really excited because of how good Ryan Howard's been. And also, I don't know, have you seen like Ryan Howard and Naz Hillman like on social media doing stuff together?
Oh yeah. Oh, you know, they were AAU teammates, I believe.
Okay, I didn't know that because they seem like best friends already. I was like,
yeah, or they were. I don't know if it's AAU. There was. See, now it's in my head. I don't know if it was either AAU or something with USA Basketball or something like that. But they became really good friends. But they've had, you know, a prior friendship. where they were teammates and everything. So I'm sure they were happy when they got there. They're like, oh my God, we're going to Atlanta. It's like girls trip. But no, they just have really good camaraderie. And I think when you have, prior relationships with players that you've played with, you understand their chemistry, you understand where they want the basketball, what they want to do when they get it in their sweet spot. So I think it's really fun to watch those young ones. Yeah. And I love Naz, so you know that. I've followed her since she was a freshman at Michigan. And so just to see her there and thriving and sticking on the roster is really awesome.
They're on TikTok all the time, or as you like to call it, TikTok. Yes, they're on the TikTok often. So I see them like doing a little. And I'm like, all right, that's fun. I didn't know they did play USA basketball together. I don't know. I mean, they look like they're just like already best friends, which is fantastic. Good.
Yeah.
But what a difference too. Like last year, this team that Atlanta had a lot of talent. It's just they didn't have the right chemistry. And it's like this year they just seem like generally have better vibes. I think Dan Padover, it's just 2 games. It's 2 games, folks. So we'll see how it goes. But I think they've done a good job of just like resetting the culture, flipping script, and moving forward with their franchise. And I think they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, the choices that they had in the draft and the fact that they basically kept them all there from who they chose. I mean, they obviously had a poignant direction that they wanted to go in, and it's showing right now with their 2-0 start.
Yeah, no, 2 games looking good. 2 games, 2 wins. That's not bad over a team that a lot of people think is going to be in the playoffs, but LA maybe we'll go negative next week. We're really positive this week, so maybe we'll go negative. Speaking of positive though, the Indiana Fever won a game.
Hey.
And I don't mean to be facetious. I mean, we said it. As much as we disagreed on how good the Fever are going to be, I think we both agreed that they kind of did what Atlanta did too. Is like they flipped the script, they moved their franchise forward, and they put it in the hands of some rookies that are very talented and ready to go. And I think we're seeing that. Destiny Henderson looks great. Emily Angster is doing Emily Angster things. Melissa Smith still. I think she has a long way to go, in terms of being like the fully formed version of herself, but she looks good. Queen Egbo been a little bit better than I thought she'd be, certainly defensively. She got injured though. I'm not sure how that's affecting her. And Alana Smith playing well. Lexi Hall playing decently well too. So it's like, I like it. I'm not with you. I'm still not with you on the 6 wins before All-Star.
Almost.
But they're better than that. I will give you credit. They are more ready to play in the WNBA than I thought they would be.
Yeah. And, when they were here in DC for the home opener for the Mystics, I caught up with Marianne Stanley and she said, we're super young, but that doesn't matter. I mean, they have to go through this experience to gain the experience. Right. And she is a savant. I mean, she's going into the Naismith National Basketball Hall of Fame in September. So, I mean, she has the pedigree and the understanding of what it takes to be a pro. And Lynn Dunn marked those players in particular to come in and be hard-nosed and to be ready to compete. And will they be perfect? Maybe not, but it's not going to be for lack of effort. It's not going to be for lack of pushing through instead of leaning back from, the challenge that's in front of them. And that's to get better. And, the fans are waiting for that in Indiana. I read a lot of articles prior to that game. Fans are waiting for them to get back, right? Lynn Dunn wants them to be a defensive-minded team. And then you have Marianne Stanley right there, who was coach of the year in the WNBA back in 2002. I mean, she has and won a championship, right? With Mystics in 2019. It feels like it. But, she understands the journey of it all and the process of it all. And she knows that those players can get it done. And not that that's going to be an undefeated season, but I think it's going to be, every day, can you get better? Every practice, can you get better? And I think that's the progression she wants to see. And then that's why I said, by All-Star break, they're going to have more wins than people will think they will have because of the work they're going to put in every single day. I get my words out, trying to go too fast. But yeah, I'm impressed. I was impressed with the draft class. They kept 5 of their 7 picks from WNBA draft night. and they're super young, but they're tough-minded youngsters. They're ready for the battle and they want it. It's not like they're shying away or afraid of it or they're not quite ready. No, they want it, and they're going to make some mistakes along the way, but it's not going to be because, they're afraid.
They get up. They get up when they hit the mat. Yeah. Well, I literally, as we saw with Lexi Hall, shouts to Lexi Hall for embracing getting absolutely thrown to the floor by Natasha Cloud. That was tough luck, but she got back up. She finished the play. She like played defense the rest of the possession. And that's what this team does. They like, so I said it wrong, by the way. I think I said that the Fever beat the Sparks. That's not true. The Fever beat the Lynx, as we just talked about earlier.
Lynx. Yeah.
And then the Sparks had lost to Atlanta, which was the other team we're talking about. So sorry for the confusion. But the Fever, like in that game against the Sparks, there's a lot of times where they had a batted ball and it would be going and it just didn't go their way. And there's a lot of times where they could have made that game closer than it was. And I think it was a 10-point, it was a 10-point margin, but it was closer than that, in my opinion. Like they were really close to like making real plays to win that game. I was really impressed with them. I think they fight. They're not really afraid of the moment, which is good. I think it's necessary. And I think they are going to be bad. I think they will finish with the worst record in the league. No. But it is more encouraging. I think it will be, like you're saying, it'll be more encouraging than perhaps that sounds right now. I think they have built, they have a roster that can be built for the future. And I think, a lot of these players look like real players that are more ready than I at least expected. So Christy was more right at the moment.
Yay.
We'll see. It's still at the All-Star break. Don't get too cocky.
Give me one though. Give me one.
We have to come up with something like a playoff, a payoff for this.
A board? Oh, payoff? Are we talking cash?
No, we're not talking cash.
Oh, well, darn it.
Although if you want to talk cash, again, spread the floor. That's our betting stuff.
That's good. Not my personal pockets, right? We're not talking about personal
pockets. We'll do like some sort of weird, like, you have to wear a hat, or I don't know.
I can do that.
You have to eat a hot dog during the, I don't know. We'll figure out something.
We'll do that. I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
The starter, the no dunks guys, no dunks starters, Basketball Jones folks, they have stuff. So maybe we'll just steal some bits from them.
Yeah, I like that. I'm down. Put me down for that. I'm good.
We gotta come up with something for all these sticky notes. We'll see if the Lynx make the playoffs. I need better sticky notes too. If anyone has recommendations on that. My sticky notes don't stick to my wall. Look, I'll put one up here. This is yours. Oh wait, no, it has to be closer. No wait, where do I go? Okay.
Yeah, back there, right there. Yay!
Does it stick?
It's up.
This thing's performing, because I swear I put it up on the wall and it was on the ground by the time I turned around. We'll see. I'm gonna keep it up there. I have it behind me.
See how long it stays up there.
All right. Anything else you want to mention about the actual games?
Oh man, I'm just excited that the season is going, and I'm just hoping that everyone stays healthy. I know Natasha Cloud is out, health and safety protocols, and then Epiphany Prince and Brianna Stewart too. I just hope that everyone's vaccinated and all that, but when they're flying and everything, just hopefully everyone takes those precautions. I mean, I have that plastic shield that I got from the beauty supply store that I wear when I fly, and it just be safe with everybody, not just because the WNBA players are flying with you, but everyone else too. I mean, it's still a pandemic out there, so it's just a little scary, I guess. Just to think that we felt like we were getting through it and making progress, and then it just feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back right now with the pandemic.
Wear a mask. It's not that hard, folks. It's
not that hard.
It's not that hard.
Just be safe.
I'm gonna get my second booster soon. I think I'm eligible.
Yeah, I need to do that too. It's just you're around a lot of people, and my son's playing AAU basketball, and it's like just in the gym and on planes, traveling with him and stuff, and so there's a lot, and in the arenas, it's a lot that you're exposed to. So I mean, better safe than sorry. And even if we've seen it, even if you're vaccinated, you can still be positive with COVID. Mm-hmm. So it's really scary. So hopefully everyone's staying safe, and hopefully those young ladies who are in the health and safety protocols are back on the floor and healthy and ready to compete for the rest of the season. So it's just fortunate to hear that, especially for Cloud here in DC, she was just coming off the mic drop game. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
19 points and took the mic from Roz Golden-Wood, just signed again for ESPN. So I'm excited for her. Yeah. So, but just, that momentum of that moment kind of had to, shelf it for a week or two. So hopefully everyone's back and healthy soon. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
And on that note, we do want to mention the Brittney Griner situation. There was an update today that her detention was extended in Russia by 30 days. I mean, this is kind of from my very limited understanding of how these things work. This is to be expected, which is just sad and awful and terrible. And the reason we put this at the end of the podcast is because I can't really talk about it without becoming extremely uncomfortable and sad and kind of depressed about it. But she's, the people that talked to her said that she's good, all things considered. So at least there's that. This has become more of a hostage situation than I think, was previously reported. It's being treated as that by the U.S. government, and there seems to at least be movement on the front of negotiations. So, hopefully this moves forward. Again, we are not the people to ask about the situation because we talk about basketball, and this is definitely something that is not basketball. I'm a lawyer, and this is definitely not something that we ever talked about in law school. So it's read the people who know what they're talking about. I think TJ Quinn, I believe, is the man from ESPN who's covering this.
Yes.
Follow him because he has kind of gotten the beat on this and been talking to people. So, we don't know what's happening. It just our thoughts and prayers are with BG, her family, the Mercury, the WNBA family, just everyone. We just hope you're staying in positive spirits, and we're sending good vibes to BG, and hopefully this is behind us sooner rather than later.
I mean, the reminder of having her number and her name on every single home court, is just a small way to know that what the WNBA is doing is more than, right? I mean, we're more than being stuck over there. And then for them to extend it, it's just really disheartening. And it's, like you said, it's depressing. And it's really sad because we feel hopeless and powerless because we can't do anything, to help get her here legally. And that's scary to think of it that way. And I know, her family, her friends, teammates, all of us fans, it's really been difficult that she's been over there for 85, 86 days. And it's really painful to think about. So definitely sending prayers, well wishes, and calming of spirits. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And that's going to make me sad.
No.
Even more so. Because I know, just knowing that, she had to leave the bubble because it was tough for her to be in that environment. And she's around people that she knows. So that's always what I think about. Everybody is different in that way and how they handle, isolation. And when you're isolated with your teammates, and that's tough. I mean, I'm just thinking of her, to be isolated in an environment where she has no one. So anyway,
it's very tough.
So that's really hard. But definitely, yeah. Thanks to Kathy Engelbert for keeping it in front of all of us. Thanks for her family for, allowing us to, to love on BG and to really wish for everything good coming out of that horrible situation and scary situation. So, yeah. So, you can go ahead and send it off this time because of my voice.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I understand. Again, this is why we put it. It's not. We don't put this at the end because we don't feel like it's important. We put it at the end because it's very difficult. Talk about, and we're not people that have the answers. I'm not sure anyone does. So we just want her to be home and safe, and we're wishing the best to her family. I know her wife just graduated from law school, so congratulations on that. That's a difficult process. So getting through it is big, and BG will be back to celebrate that soon enough. I'm sure of that. I'm sure BG will be back soon enough. So hopefully, sending all the vibes, sending our full hearts to BG, sending our full heart to all of you guys for listening. We hope you're staying healthy, safe, and enjoying this WNBA season. We're going to be here through the rest of the year, obviously talking hoops, talking everything that's to do with WNBA. Got a long season ahead of us. Christy, you got the game tonight. I think we have a week off from Mystics, right?
They're
on the road.
They travel and then they come back. So they have Dallas kind of back to back, the home and home there, and then they're back next Friday.
So we'll be talking about the Mystics. Christy's gonna have to go to Hampton for basketball tournament. So if you're at that basketball tournament, say what's up. I will be here with my parents who are coming into town and my grandma. So I was furiously cleaning my house. And I'm wondering if she's going to mention this, if it is still on the wall when she comes here. Regardless, everyone, we hope you have a great day. This is Courtside. So for Christy Winter Scott, I'm Gabe Ibrahim. We'll talk to you soon.